Is it a good idea to buy the RX 7600 to play the latest games in the second half of 2024 at 1080p? Let's find out. I've paired this graphics card with the Ryzen 5 7600X CPU as part of my Be Quiet PC build. I like how the GPU color scheme goes really well with this build, especially thanks to those sleeved extension power cables. If you're interested in any of the products featured in this video, you can find them on Amazon at the links in the description below. Let's start our testing with the most popular AAA game at the moment, Wukong. Let's see how the RX 7600 behaves in games. In terms of power consumption, it uses around 180 watts. It utilizes 7.6 gigabytes of memory, which is pretty much everything it has. This card comes with 8 gigabytes of memory. And in terms of temperature, 70 degrees. GPU fan is spinning quite fast, 2200 RPM. The room temperature is 25.5 degrees Celsius. That is almost 78 Fahrenheit. And the GPU is not silent. I can definitely hear it spinning. It's not too bad, but I definitely can hear it. So if you're looking for a completely silent GPU to go along with your Be Quiet fans, then this is not it. But if you're using a headset to play your games, then this will not bother you. It's a very subtle noise, not a problem. Let's start with settings that the game is recommending to us, shall we? That is resolution at 67% using FSR, frame generation enabled, ray tracing off, and graphics preset is set to high. For the record, I think that 1080p resolution is bad as it is in terms of image clarity. If you are playing on a 27-inch monitor, for example. If you are on a 24-inch monitor, then pixel density is okay in my opinion. But if you want to enjoy this game on a larger screen, then I don't think it's a good idea to use resolution upscaling. And I can see right away that there is some nasty ghosting effects. Let me show you. If you look at those leaves falling, you can see there's a lot of artifacts left behind almost every leaf. FSR does not perform that well in this game. And as I pan the camera, the image is just smooshed. It is absolutely smooshed. There is no finer details remaining when you pan the camera. And I'm using a controller, so these are not aggressive pans. Not as aggressive as you would get using a keyboard and mouse. But the FPS is glorious. Take a look at that. Above 100. Yeah, very nice. Let's find someone to fight. Oh, this guy right here. Come on, let's do it. Oh my god. He's gone. He is absolutely gone. Where is he? Is he alive? He's still alive. There he is. Glitching. Yeah. Well, bye, I guess. That was fun. Well, at least the game is nice and smooth. I can't fault it. Playing the game at around 100 to 130 FPS feels really nice. But the image quality is absolutely horrendous. I mean, when you look at foliage, it's just a pixelated mess. And the same goes for the character. His fur doesn't even look like fur anymore because everything is just so pixelated. Let's try to get a visually pleasant experience. I think we have to use native resolution for that. And frame generation is still on. Yeah, this performance is still okay. We're getting 90 plus FPS, 80 plus. I can't really say that the image quality got that much better. It is better, but take a look at the character's fur. It is still pixelated. And same goes for any footage. It's just not looking great. It is better than it was, but it still needs improvement. I'm curious what the performance will be like without frame generation using native resolution and high graphics preset. It doesn't look too hot. 50 plus to 40 plus FPS. Yeah, 40 plus over here. Not nice. Not nice at all. And that basically means that because we have low base FPS, responsiveness of the game will be compromised by that. So if you're looking for like an ultra sharp experience where you can dodge all the attacks perfectly, you have to have higher base FPS before you enable frame generation to smooth that image. And even without frame generation, leaves are still leaving particles behind them, so there's still a lot of ghosting. That must be FSR at work. Obviously we can't use DLSS on an AMD graphics card, but we can use ZSS from Intel. Let's see if it is better than AMD's FSR in this game. In terms of visual quality of moving particles, it's difficult to say. There's less ghosting, but I can see sizzling over here in the background. So, yeah, it's just one thing is not better than the other, in my opinion. Both ZSS and FSR have problems in this particular game. And using ZSS, we've lost almost all details on the character's fur. It's just pixels. Pixels, pixels, pixels. Not great. Maybe TSR will be better. This is technology directly provided by Unreal Engine. So let's see. In terms of image quality, it is a bit cleaner. I mean, we're still not getting many details on that fur, but at least it doesn't look as bad as it did with ZSS. And in terms of ghosting, it's fine. This is actually the best visual quality we've seen so far. So ZSS was not good in terms of ghosting when it comes to small particles like leaves right here. FSR was also horrible, and this is the best option in my opinion. In terms of overall visual presentation, I actually prefer how TSR looks to anything else, like ZSS sucks, FSR sucks. So let's keep using TSR. And the good thing that you can still enable AMD's frame generation coupled with TSR. So that's a good thing if you want a much more fluid image on top of that high FPS. But using high graphics preset, we are not going to get that nice high FPS because right now we are at 40 plus to 50 plus in that range. So that's not great. I would aim for at least close to 60 FPS in worst case scenarios. Let's go ahead and lower that graphics preset down to medium. Now FPS is much nicer. Take a look at that. 60 plus, 70 plus. And the game still looks great. Not a problem at all. Although in this particular cutscene we're getting dips to 40 FPS. Yeah. It is strange. As long as regular gameplay stays at 60 plus, that's what we're looking for. Because take a look at that. Outside of the cutscene, same characters, same location, 60 plus FPS. Let's keep graphics preset on medium, resolution on native, and let's try enabling frame generation to improve image fluidity. Yes, this is quite nice. We're getting well above 100 FPS right now. Now let's just take care of this guy right here. Oh! Let's go. Come on, guy. Boom. Heavy attack. Oh, it disappeared. What happened? What happened just now? He vanished. If you're looking for a high refresh rate experience, then this is actually not a bad option. Use frame generation to boost that frame rate. Controls responsiveness is still good. And the image clarity is fine. It's interesting to see that we're actually not utilizing the GPU fully using these settings. We're at like 95 to 97% most of the time. Yeah. Now let's see if we can use full ray tracing, at least on the low, because low ray tracing feature provides very nice shadows. They're much nicer than what you have by default. Oh my, we're looking at a slideshow. Oh, absolutely horrendous performance. That could be because we don't have enough video memory, because I see that DRAM usage has spiked, and yeah, the performance is absolutely horrible. Let's try disabling frame generation. That should free up some of those memory resources. And while we are at it, let's lower graphics quality down to low, because I don't think we'll be able to play with ray tracing on medium. And that's a big no. Yeah, still a slideshow. So, no ray tracing for the RX 7600 in Wukong. The last thing I want to check is how the game performs without ray tracing, without frame generation at native resolution, using low graphics quality preset. You might want to use this preset if you want to maximize your FPS at native resolution. However, I must say that the game doesn't look particularly good. A lot of these textures are now absolutely horrible. They look flat and nasty. But the performance is there. 100 FPS. Very nice and responsive. Let's see if we can increase texture quality to get better visual experience. FPS is pretty much the same. And textures do look better. However, it's the lighting. The lighting is completely different now, and it doesn't look as good. Personally, I think I'd still prefer playing this game on medium graphics preset, or maybe optimized graphics, but you'll have to tweak these settings to see what works for this particular graphics card, and that could take hours and hours. And take a look at that. The shadows are back. Previously, there was no shadows. Crazy. Yeah, this looks much better, much more natural and pleasant. And performance is still great. 60 plus FPS. It feels very nice indeed. Horizon Forbidden West is the perfect example of a game that came out this year, but it is not fresh off the press. It had a decent amount of time to be patched, so in theory, the performance should be quite good. using the RX 7600 graphics card. But is it so in reality? We are at native 1080p, so no resolution upscaling, no frame generation, using very high graphics preset. Actually, let's max it out. Let's set texture filtering to 16x. Field of view is also maxed out. Performance is not that great. We're getting drops below 40 FPS. The GPU load is at 100%, so that's not CPU's fault. This is what GPU is delivering. And here, 28 FPS and 30 plus inside of the tavern. This is not great. Not a great experience at all. I was expecting better from the RX 7600. And using very high graphics preset with 8x anisotropic filtering as set by the developer doesn't change that much, because that setting right there is not very impactful. We're still at 30 plus FPS most of the time. So we have to use lower graphics preset. Let's go down to high. And even so, we're still at 40 plus FPS now. Not a great experience. Yeah, native 1080p experience using the RX 7600 in 2024 is quite abysmal, I must say. What about medium graphics preset? Will that work better? And yes, basically, if you want your FPS to be at around 60 in this particular game, you have to go for medium graphics preset using the RX 7600. That's not something I was expecting. I was actually expecting to see good performance, at least on high graphics preset at native 1080p. Because if I remember correctly, we had a good time at 1080p using the RTX 4060. Oh. And of course you can use FSR to improve performance. Let's set FSR to quality. However, as I mentioned previously, it doesn't look particularly good at 1080p resolution. If we're using 1440p or 4K resolution, then using resolution upscaling makes perfect sense. But at 1080p, especially if you have a larger monitor, for example 27 inches, you will see image quality degradation, and it will be quite significant. Finer details are absolutely lost right now, but the performance is definitely better. So let's try increasing that graphics quality. Let's set it to high. And even so, we're struggling to stay above 50 FPS, even using FSR set to quality. We're taking an image quality hit, and the RX 7600 still cannot deliver good experience on high graphics quality preset. The only other way to improve image fluidity is frame generation, but putting that on top of already bad looking FSR is not particularly great. At least image fluidity is nicer this way. It's definitely a better experience, but you know, it's still quite bad in terms of image quality. There's a lot of artifacts on Aloy's hair. All the small fine details like the grass is just blurred. It's a blurry blob. Let me try and capture that on camera. I don't think the camera is doing it justice. What my eyes see and what this camera sees is two different things. So you'll just have to trust me on this one. Just trust me, bro. It doesn't look nice. So let's just try and disable resolution upscaling, but let's keep frame generation on, and graphics quality is still set to high. FPS stays above 60, and controls feel okay. There's a little bit of jelly effect in the mouse, but it's not too bad. It's okay. I could play like this, and I can definitely see that image quality is much better. I mean, the grass looks more like grass already, and that's nicer. I'd prefer playing this game using these settings to what we've seen with FSR resolution upscaling. I just don't want to use FSR at 1080p. It doesn't look good, it doesn't feel good, it's just horrible. But these settings, they're better. They're not perfect, like there's some problems with HUD elements, like that marker over there. Yeah, it's just, it's not rendering properly. And those markers above are also quite stuttery. I would say that I'm not impressed by the Radeon experience so far. I mean, I've been testing a lot of NVIDIA graphics cards, and that experience was way better than what I've seen with any Radeon graphics card I've tested so far this year. In conclusion, the RX 7600 gaming experience at 1080p was underwhelming. I'm sure that if you want to play simpler games, like some competitive titles, CS2, and so on, you are going to have a good time using this graphics card. However, if you're like me and you want to play the latest visually impressive games, then this is not it. This is not the way to go. And it's not just about pure performance these days. Resolution upscaling is a thing, and a lot of people are using it, including myself. I really like it, actually. But FSR is just not there. Even with the latest version, 3.1, the image quality is not up to the standard that was set by NVIDIA's DLSS. And the thing is that FSR 3 adoption rate is still quite low, which means that if you want to play older games, like the ones from 2023 for example, or even earlier, then you're out of luck. DLSS 2, 2.5 and 3 is widespread in many games, and a lot of games have actually implemented it later. Even though they are old games, they are still adding DLSS, whereas with FSR, game developers just don't seem to care. For my particular use case, the RX 7600 is a no-go. I do not recommend it. Just go for an NVIDIA alternative if you're looking for a graphics card at around $300. That's what I think. What about you? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you're interested in any of the products featured in this video, you can get them on Amazon at the links in the description below. And don't forget to give this video a like if you enjoyed it and found it helpful. Also, subscribe for more if you haven't already. It was I, Vadim. Until next time.